If it makes you happy and someone else has something to say, fuck them. Do what makes you happy.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't, but...
It's time for the Garage Boozing Podcast.
What's up, nerds? And welcome back to another episode of the Garage Boozing Podcast. I'm your host, the man with absolutely no plan, the Chase with the face for radio, Chase Shurga. And boy, I have one hell of an episode for you. This conversation with Cody and Brandon went so well that I actually have to break it up into two parts. So we're going to have a two-part series for the first time. So this episode is going to be part one of the conversation with Brandon and Cody, and then next week we're going to have part two, because I'm telling you, this is one hell of a conversation, and you are going to absolutely love it. So without further ado, folks, you know what time it is. It's time to sit back, relax, kick your feet up, crack open a cold one, and if you're really feeling fruity, take a shot. Why not? Because this week's episode of the Garage Boozing Podcast starts now. And support for the Garage Boozing Podcast is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. They obsess over their technology developments to provide you with the best tools for your grooming experience. Manscaped is trusted by over 2 million men worldwide, and I have an exclusive offer for my listeners. 20% off plus free shipping when you use the promo code TGBP20 at manscaped.com. That TGBP obviously stands for the Garage Boozing Podcast. But all right, boys, trim that junk of yours. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code TGBP20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com with promo code TGBP20. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Garage Boozing Podcast. Today, I am joined by two very special guests. To my right, your left if you're watching on YouTube, we have Brandon Eastman back again. To my left, your right if you're watching on YouTube, we have Cody Hinkley, new time guest. New time, first time, I don't know, you know what I'm saying. Guys, welcome to the show.
It's great to be here.
I like that. I like when people say it's great to be here. You know, you get the invitation, it's great to be here. That feels good. I'm glad it's great to be here.
It's an honor.
You know, well, it's an honor for you guys to be here in the garage.
That's true.
Absolutely.
It's a nice garage.
Yeah, it's literally a garage. I like how they can only see the studio part of the garage. It's not even a studio, I call it, but like I call it a studio. And then you got like boxes, my tractor over there. It's a mess in here, but you guys don't see it, so it's fine. But yeah, like I said, guys, welcome to the show.
You know, I like being on this show because you get here and you don't just like jump right into it.
Never.
And it's just business. You get here and you spend 2 hours.
I know.
Yeah.
They got here at 7:30. It's 9 o'clock, by the way, and we're finally getting started. And because you got to warm up a little bit, you know, we're having a couple adult beverages before, and just shooting the shit. And yeah, were you gonna say something? I thought you were gonna say something.
I was going to say, it's been a while since all three of us have like hung out.
I was gonna say,
a very long time.
Yeah.
I think it was probably a house party or something like that I had. Was
Probably one
the
of your
last
house
time.
parties.
It was probably one of Cody's ragers.
Yeah.
So a little backstory here. As you guys know from the last time Brandon was on the podcast here, Brandon and I went to high school together. Didn't like each other in high school, but became very good friends after high school, and we worked together. And we worked at the same job with Cody, which is how I met Cody. Cody actually trained me at that job and almost got me to not have a job because I was 15 minutes late to my interview, and he told my boss at the time, don't hire him because he was 15 minutes late. But luckily, you know, my boss at the time was really nice, and when I heard that story, I was very scared of Cody. I do remember when my other trainer, who I'm not going to mention the name, she was like, yeah, and then you were my systems trainer, I think is what it was at the time, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so she was my sales trainer, and then you were my systems trainer. So I think I was with her first, then you is how it went, right?
No, it's the other way around. You were with me first, and then once you get through systems, then you could actually go to sales and try to do stuff on your own, essentially.
But I knew that I was going to have two trainers, and like she reached out to me, and like I remember I was there one day, and I got there like an hour before you or something, so I was just hanging out, and everyone's like, oh yeah, Cody's your trainer. Oh no. Like trying to scare the shit out of me. So I'm like, oh my God, Cody's going to train me. Who's Cody? And then Cody walks in, and he just like walks in like straight face, like no emotion. I'm like, oh boy, I'm so scared. And then now me and Cody are very good friends. So,
And I think we were talking about earlier, who would have ever thought that the three of us would ever hang out? Like,
I know,
outside
right?
of work,
Never.
Yeah. I remember the time that you and I drove down to New Hire together. I was 18. How old were you at the time?
Probably 41.
What was this? 2000. Very close.
Wait, how old are you now?
I'm 35.
Oh, okay. No, so he wasn't 41.
So this would have been 2012.
Wow, so you were like 26.
Yeah, 26.
Wow.
Yep.
And yeah, we didn't click.
No, well, that's the thing too. Like, especially at that point in my life, I was very standoffish with like everybody.
When I first met you, were a different person than you are now.
Like,
I will say that.
The biggest thing is like, I always had the mantra of like, you have to win me over type of thing. So everybody started at the very bottom. Like, and it's egotistical to say in that light.
What's a mantra?
Can
we just use words that I know? Like pretend I'm a third grader.
So I'm going to use only like 5 words this entire time.
Cocksucker.
So essentially, like a mantra, it's it's like what you live by, like a code that you live by type of thing.
Oh, okay. So like a...
It's like my thing with people is like I wanted them to win me over. I wasn't like generally people like people when they immediately meet them.
Yep.
I was the opposite of that. Like you had to win me over.
Yep.
And that's kind of the
So I won you over.
eventually.
Nice.
We were young kids though too.
Well, and that's the thing too. Like I've always been like called like an old soul in a lot of ways.
You?
Yeah. No. I know nobody would ever believe it.
Never.
So like, working with kids that were, and I say kids and you're adults at 18, but like that was my big thing. It's like, it was one of those things, and I think we were talking about this earlier, like, talking about like life advice and stuff like that. I was like, oh, life is going to hit them hard. And I don't think it really has, but it was one of those things like, I always got kind of like a chuckle out of it. Like, these kids are just not going to make it.
Oh, it hit us.
Oh, yeah, it definitely did. It's so funny because like when I started at that job, I was 20 years old when I met you. And you were in your late 20s, I believe. How old do you know you said?
35.
35. So shit, was it? Hold on, when did I start there? 2004? Oh, yeah, okay, so you were in your late 20s. And I remember at the time I was thinking, like, that's so old, he's so mature. Now I'm 27, and I'm the most immature 27-year-old I've ever met. So like, it's just so funny that I looked at it, and I was like, oh, my God, he's got his head on his shoulders. Like, that's crazy. Like, he's so old. And then, like, now I'm 27, I still feel like I'm 17.
But you know what? You still feel like you're 17, but you've done a lot of things that would qualify you to be a very mature person, if that makes any sense.
And I don't mean to cut you off here, but I am going to agree with you in fact, not to toot my own horn, because I am a very immature person, but I'm also a very mature person. It depends on the aspect of what we're looking for.
Right.
Or looking at, because, like, partying and having a good time, very immature. I'm very irresponsible.
Right.
But when it comes to like financial decisions and life decisions, that aspect, I say I'm very mature. So I started the job that we had all together that I'm not going to name, but right. So we had that job all together. And before that, I was working at a grocery store in the produce department. I had 5 a.m. shifts looking at apples and seeing if they're bad, putting new apples on the shelf, stuff like that, making $7.50 an hour. I remember I got a quarter raise and I was like, woo! And then I got that job. When I first started there, I had no bills. I still lived at home, stuff like that. So I remember a couple months after I started there, I went and I got my own apartment with a couple friends. And I thank you for that, Brandon. Yeah, we mentioned it before, but Brandon's literally the reason I had that job. Because I walked by the store and I see Brandon Eastman in a suit. I said, wow, I went to high school and he's wearing a suit. I'm like, wow, that's a nice suit. He must be making good money. So I sent him a message on Facebook. I'm like, hey, you guys hiring? You're like, well, yeah, we're always hiring. Come in one day and I'll show you everything, blah, blah, blah. And he pulls up like the leaderboard and he's like, yeah, this is how much I've made this month. This is how much I made last month. This is how much everyone else is making. And I'm literally sitting there like, dude, this guy's the same age as me. I'm making $7.50 an hour right now. Whoa.
Yeah.
Nuts.
And I always knew you were a charismatic person, so you would do well, because I've never referred
I do know what that means.
I've never referred someone who I didn't think would do very well. And it's not even that we weren't like friends in high school. It's that we weren't in the same group in high school.
Right. It's not that we didn't really like each other.
Yeah.
We just like weren't friends. We didn't really associate, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Because we had Slickshot 61 over here playing RuneScape.
Yeah.
We just had different paths, totally.
Yeah.
Well, I think that, speaks to the fact too, like, who you are in high school is going to be entirely different than who you are, 3, 4, 5 years out of high school.
Yeah, for sure. Wasn't it you that got in the fight in 8th grade? That
Oh,
was you,
man.
right? It was 8th grade. We could talk about
Yeah.
that. Was it you that put the pizza in the face? Or
It wasn't pizza.
What was it?
So the person, I don't know if you want to say names.
No, we don't have to say his name.
The person, they took my book from me, like a book that I studied with, and I got really pissed off. I had, like, not anger issues, but it pissed me off. So
Right.
I stood up and
What did he do with your book?
He just took it from me, and I said, hey, can I get that book back? And he's like, no.
No.
So I stood up, I pushed him, and he came back at me. So they swung first, And then I swung back, and then it immediately got broken up. But
So did you connect with the swing?
not really. Neither of us got hit, but we both got suspended for it.
Wow, you've been suspended.
We were friends, but it was like, who's got a bigger dick challenge. It was like that.
So who ended up with the bigger dick?
Neither of us.
I mean, neither of them. They both got the same punishment.
Yeah, exactly. And we were still friends after that, but we never talked after that. But I wish them well if they're watching this. I hope they're doing great.
Yeah, that person actually lives down the road. And,
I'm very well aware. We used to hang out all the time.
Yeah, and his father actually comes down all the time. And sometimes when I'm mid-podcast in the summer, I'll have the garage door open, and he'll walk right in. Oh, you guys are doing another podcast? I love them very much. It's 8th grade we're talking about. This was like 15 years ago. But I love that story. And I forgot the pizza in the face. That was Riley and Jeff Anders. Do you remember that?
Really?
Remember
Jeff Anders?
Jeff Anders. Remember Jeff Anders?
I remember that name.
Yeah,
yes.
Jeff Anders. Riley and Jeff Anders got in a fight, and Riley took a pizza and put it in his face.
Fucking Riley.
I know. Fucking
That's
Riley.
awesome.
That was in 8th grade. Wild.
Nice work, Riley.
Draft Top. The Draft Top was designed to give you a better drinking experience all around, and this is how. So you take your beer can, place it in your hand, and then you take our cool little nifty Draft Top, you stick it right on top of the beer can, give it a little squeeze, and then a little friction, a little to the left, a little to the right. Boom, that easy. You take the tool, push it right inside, and guess what? It just took the top of your beer can right off. By removing the top of the beer can, you get an all-around better drinking experience. You can smell the aromas of the alcohol, you can chug your beer a hell of a lot faster. So forget about a red Solo cup, I'll fill you up. Draft Top just turned your beer can into a cup. So I want you to have one, you want you to have one, Draft Top wants you to have one, and you can get yours now at www.drafttop.com. And don't forget to use promo code 10%-garage-boozing at checkout. That is 10%-garage boozing for 10% off www.drafttop.com site-wide. Get yours now, thank me later. All right, back to the show. Peach to the face, finishing move. But, what was I going to say here? Oh, yeah, so this is one thing that you actually brought up on our group chat because we were thinking about things to talk about here on the podcast. So I'm going to lead with this before I bring up my other topics. And me and you had a lot of talk about this before, but motivation, right? So motivation is a big thing here. Motivation is big for everybody. But my first question here is, for both of you, I don't know who wants to go first here, but what motivates you?
So I don't think there's one specific thing. So for me, more than anything, it's kind of proving people wrong.
I love that.
Whether that's, something that's actual, like the person doesn't believe in me, or something I manifest inside my head to prove them wrong. That's one thing, especially from like a losing weight perspective.
He's lost a shit ton of weight since when I first met him, by the way.
And that's the thing too. I mean, we've all had weight loss journeys, all three.
Actually, yeah, I lost 40 pounds on keto. You're right.
So, and the biggest thing,
you too. You lost a shit ton of weight from when I first met you.
And that was
not first met you, but first started being your friend, right?
Many moons ago. So, I think in total I lost. It was over 100 pounds. I think it was close to like 110.
That's incredible. That really is incredible.
Well, and that's the thing too. Like I talk to people about it, and for me, like I kind of downplay it from this perspective of like I didn't do anything special. Like all I did was I tracked what I ate, and I didn't eat like with keto, it's very specific. You don't have carbs and stuff like that. For me, I ate what I would conceive to be normal foods.
Keto was hard, by the way. It was hard, but like I was like on the scale. I remember I sat on the scale and I was like 198 pounds, and I was like, at my body frame, I should not be hitting 200 pounds. Like, let's do something about it. Mm-hmm. So then I was a big fan of Jersey Shore at the time, and Vinny was like the keto Guido. So like Vinny was big on keto, and like this was when keto first started coming out, because this has been a fad that happened in like the past like 5 years. It hasn't been around a long time. So I saw that and I was like, oh God, how do I do that? Followed that, and it actually worked. In 2 months, I lost 40 pounds. Impeccable. But back to you, sorry.
So my big thing is again, proving people wrong, whether it's right, wrong, indifferent, whatever it is. So the situation that arose for me was, dating and stuff like that. I remember I was going to meet a girl that I had met online, first date and everything like that. We had a great back and forth, great conversation. Things seemed to be going in a phenomenal direction. And I remember getting to her place and getting out of my car, and the first sight of her, I could see it in her face. Like she was just disappointed by the way I looked. Like
you catfished her. No, I'm kidding.
I'm kidding. It's one of those things I don't have the ability to, but
I'm kidding.
Water spills out of the car when he opens the door.
Because he's a catfish.
So it was one of those things, like, just the entire date from there, like, I could just feel like this was not going to go anywhere. Like,
kind of awkward.
Right. So, I remember we had plans for, me to crash at her place for the night, and she was just like, I don't think it's a good idea that you crash. So, like, I knew then and there.
You saw the writing on the wall.
Right. So, in my head, I was like, you know what? Like, if we're having phenomenal conversation, there's no problem with my personality, at least with her. So, like, for me, it's my physical, looks and stuff like that. So, my big thing was like, I, kind of like a Rocky Balboa situation, like, inside. Yeah,
okay.
So like for me, like whenever I'd exercise or something like that, like I would envision her and how I felt about that situation. And, that was my striving goal, is like, if I ever get to a point where, I don't have that crutch that's holding me back type of thing, then, maybe like in my head, I'm thinking like, it kind of something out of a movie where you're just like, you know what, this girl's going to want to take me now.
Yeah.
Which granted, if she didn't want me when I was like that, I don't want to have her on the back end. But in my head, like, it was just something I manifested, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to lose weight. So I remember going on vacation with a couple of buddies from college. I had literally eaten everything that was at my house. So by the time I got back from vacation, I could buy everything fresh, start with a whole new, like,
So vacation was like your last hurrah. You're like, I'm eating this, and this, enjoying food.
Well,
like,
even prior to vacation, like literally having nothing to come back to at my house. So like when I went grocery shopping, I had no excuse but to buy good stuff. And then from there, it progressed, and a couple of years later, I had lost 100 pounds.
That's incredible. And I never knew the story behind it. So that's actually really cool.
Same.
And sometimes, like, I feel like a lot of people that make certain choices or certain changes in life, there is a story like that behind it. There's a little, it's like a little kick in the butt almost, I want to say, like, like, I don't know exactly where I'm going.
Well, I think with a lot of people, especially when I was that size, everybody wants to lose weight when they're that size.
Right.
And I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that have tried and failed, and I was certainly one of those where I would try it for, a month or two, and it wouldn't work.
It's like how bad do you want it?
Right. And for me, like, once I started, there was no going back.
Absolutely.
And I mean, now we're talking, this is 4 or 5 years later, and from there, with the money I'm not spending on going out to eat, as much, or even going out to the bars and stuff like that, I now have a mortgage payment that I can pay.
Yeah, right.
Like that, and you're talking thousands of dollars each month where I would just waste money on food for a temporary solution that is now my house.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and that's awesome, man. Like, and it is so funny because I like, how Facebook has like those what are they called? Memories, Facebook memories,
Mm-hmm.
and like you see pictures. It's like sometimes you guys will pop up, and like it's so funny how different we looked in 2014 compared to how we all look now, right?
Yes.
Right. I didn't even wear glasses when I first started to see Saki. I didn't have glasses, and then like finally I got to the point where the doctor's like, yeah, and the eye doctor's like, yeah, you need glasses. I have long hair and a ponytail now. You've lost a shit ton of weight. You've lost a shit ton of weight. You finally shaved your head when we were all telling you for like a year and a half, like shave your head.
Yeah.
Because his hair was thinning. But yeah, dude, that is awesome. I do like that a lot. But so that comes to you now. What motivates you?
It's funny because it's very similar to Cody, actually. Cody's end goal was, I want to look this way. I want to feel this way. I want to be accepted in this way. And what fuels me is very much the same thing. It's not necessarily looks. Well, at one time it was, but it's the end result. It's what it is that I want to move towards. Just like you want to buy out every Ace Hardware
and make it a garage boozing facility.
Garage boozing nationwide. Which,
Ace Hardware warehouse.
Yes, exactly. For me, the end result is I want total freedom. Mm-hmm. I want freedom to work on my terms, to do what I want, where I want, when I want to, and with the people that I want to be able to travel wherever I want. And to me, I think like, well, how am I going to make that happen? And the answer is to use what I'm great at, to use what I feel like I'm skilled at, what I'm good at, but also what I enjoy doing and what's going to help the most people possible. And that's the thing, like everyone listening right now, they're listening for entertainment. They're not necessarily listening for self-improvement, but everyone listening right now is great at something.
Absolutely.
Right? They have a unique ability, a talent, a skill that they could use to earn money, but also to get freedom for themselves. So I said to myself, well, what can I do in order to make that a reality? And the self-improvement industry, it's a $1 billion industry, like billions of dollars. Like people are looking to improve. I think back to when I was overweight, like what we were talking about, when I was in debt, what did I do to improve? I watched YouTube videos. I read books. I was diving deep into the personal development world. And I thought to myself, well, what if I could help people do the same thing? So what motivates me?
I'm glad that you're going into that because that was actually a question I was going to ask you. Like, what made you get into that, like, field. So like keep going because
Yeah.
that already is knocking out one of my questions. So go ahead.
Well, that's what motivates me. I think all motivation is self-motivation. No one's going to be the person who motivates you. They can
Right.
make you feel good for 10 minutes, but then
And then you
leave,
go back to your old ways.
and you're back in your environment.
Yep.
And it's why so many people just go to seminar, but they go back home and they're the same person and they're just seminar junkies. When really what's going to help you the most is by taking what you've learned and actually using it. But not even just that, because if you use something without an end goal in mind, then you're just doing, not getting anywhere. It's all about having an end destination, like
Right.
looking a certain way, weighing a certain amount. It's all about knowing what you want, making it a reality. I talk to my dad all the time, and he's a successful man who came from a family that wasn't successful.
Get me a beer, kid.
And his family, I hope none of them are watching, but they're just not the most successful people. They're into drugs, they're into drinking, they're into foreclosure, they're into all these things, and it's a habit they practice. But my dad was able to break the pattern. And I always ask him questions now that I understand and can know more. I ask him, how did you get out of that? And he's like, well, I had children. I had your brother, DJ.
Yeah.
And he's like, I had to change. So his motivation was providing a great lifestyle for his children. And that's the only reason why he was able to break that pattern. So for anyone listening, if you want to join into this and if you're looking for motivation, you got to decide what you want your life to look like 10 years from now, because 10 years is going to pass. I asked you what you wanted this podcast to look like 10 years from now, because the reality is this is going to blow up.
Correct.
It's going to be massive. It's impossible that it won't be massive 10 years from now. You'd have to work really hard for it not to be massive. And it will be. And the question is, 10 years from now, what do you want this empire of garage boozing to look like?
Just keep going. Absolutely. Like, look at even the Joe Rogan podcast. Yeah, Joe Rogan's been around for a lot of years, but like his first couple hundred episodes were not as big as like nowadays in the thousands. Like that's blowing up now. So you're absolutely right. So like, I'm a big believer in Rome wasn't built in a day. I say that all the time. Rome was not built in a day. So I 100% agree with what you just said. But now for what motivates me, I mean, I really can't say anything that hasn't already been said, because both of you, like, I connect with both of that. But I do like the thing that you were saying about like how your dad, he's like, I had kids, right? So like a big motivation factor for me is, yes, I'm 27 years old. Do I have kids anytime soon? Probably not. Like, I don't think I'm ready for that. But like in my 30s, sure. But like what motivates me, my end goal, like I want to have a family, right? So I definitely want to have a family. I want to have a wife. I want to have multiple kids. And I want those kids to have a better life than I had growing up. And that's not saying I had a bad life growing up. I had a fantastic life growing up. Sure, my parents were divorced. Okay, yeah, that kind of sucked. But like, I don't remember my parents being together. So like, I didn't know anything different. I don't remember my parents being together, me coming home to my parents. I remember my dad living in New York and my mom living whichever state she lived in at the time, because she moved around a lot. But like, I would spend summers with my mom, stuff like that's just how life was. But like, I had a good life growing up, but I want my kids to have a great life. You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
Well, I think that's anything a parent wants.
Any parent will say the same thing.
Yeah, that old adage of like, I want my kids to have a better life than I had. Whether you had a great life or not, like you always want your kids to be better off. And
Absolutely.
You want to be able to kind of provide that foundation. Because I mean, if you think about a lot of stuff, like with people, like a lot of that is rooted in how they were brought up.
Yeah.
So I mean, the parenting aspect, I feel like that is something that's very crucial to the development of anybody.
Absolutely.
And that's one thing that I can at least say about my parents. Like I had probably, like, for lack of a better term, the perfect parents growing up. Like they did the best they could with what they had. And like there's been times I've screwed up pretty.
Yeah, me too.
Pretty heavy.
Me too. And my parents still love me. Thank you guys.
Yes, thank you. And but that's one thing. Like without their love and support and kind of helping to put me on like the right path, so to speak, like I would not be in the situation or the person that I am today without them.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think really anything, you have to have a plan, right? So like you would plan to, set the foundation for your kids to have a wonderful life.
Yeah.
But like, it's like, what is that old adage of, something without a plan is just like a...
Oh, dream. Well, I always say dreams don't work unless you do, or like...
Right, exactly.
It's essentially the same thing. And you're thinking of an action...
A goal without a plan is just a dream.
Yes, a
Right.
goal without a plan is just a dream.
Exactly.
Yes, that's the quote. Exactly.
So, and I think that's really important, especially from like, the weight loss perspective. Like we all had a dream of, losing weight, and then we put it into action through a plan.
And then once
Yes.
you get to the end of that goal too, like you lost a bunch of weight, I lost some weight. Your self-confidence too goes like through the roof after that too.
Totally,
You
dude.
feel so much better, so much better.
That was the first thing for me. Like the first thing I did was I read The Secret. I changed my mindset. I started to attract higher vibrational energy. And then I started going to the gym, and it changed everything for me.
Yeah, I mean, even doing a couple bicep curls, you're like, wow, yeah, looking yourself in the
Yeah.
mirror, like I feel good. Like, self-confidence is key. Depending on how you look or like what your weight is, still, if you can be confident, I'm a big believer you can do anything you want in life. It's like a big thing with self-confidence too is you just got to not give a fuck what anyone thinks to an extent. I mean, obviously you got to care like what your loved ones think and stuff like that. But like the haters, fuck the haters, man. Like everyone's got haters.
Well, here's the thing: you're always gonna have people that want to see you fail.
Of course.
Whether that,
and if you don't have people that want to see you fail, then you're doing things wrong.
right? And I feel like that's part of the thing too is like, again, going back to like my situation of losing weight, like never saw that girl ever again.
Yep.
But if I ever did, if I walked by her just in passing, I wanted her to be like, you know what?
I fucked up. Yeah.
Yeah. You have to consider the source.
Right.
A lot of people try to give feedback, but you look at them and you can really only take feedback from the people that you can say, I would like the life of that person.
Or not even that. Like if somebody like tells you, this is what's going to happen, but they haven't ever experienced that or done anything like that, then, or it's, the same thing from like a leadership standpoint, like, any job that I've ever had where somebody's saying like, we need to go out and do this. And it's like, well, we being the sales staff or we as a group, like that's the big thing. Like for me that, if you're going to get me to kind of jump on board, like I have to believe you've been in the trenches before and you know what it actually takes to succeed. And you're not just saying it because you're on top of the hill and we're looking up to you type of thing.
Yeah, I will agree with that 100%.
Absolutely.
All right, folks, let me tell you all about the pump action shotgun tool. Whoa, there's a tool for shotgunning? Hell yeah, there is. So listen to this. The pump action shotgun tool, created by the Drunk Engineers. Love that name, by the way. It makes shotgunning a hell of a lot easier, and let me tell you how. So you're going to take your beer, and you're going to stick it right in the shotgun tool, like this. Hold it like that so the air pockets are up here, and then you're going to give it a little squeeze. You're going to hear pop, bam, pop. But look at that. No mess. So right now the air pocket's right up here, and you're going to want to make sure you take this, push that down, and then what we're going to do is we're going to rotate the tool. Hold the beer can in place to the mouthpiece. Then you're going to put your mouth on the mouthpiece and shotgun. And boom, no mess. You can shotgun at the dinner table, family events, wherever you want with absolutely no mess. So forget shotgunning, slamming a knife right through. Yeah, not a thing anymore. Thanks to the Pump Action Shotgun Tool by Drunk Engineers. And you can get yours right now. So just log on to www.drunkengineers.ca. Don't forget to use promo code GarageBoozing for 15% off site-wide. That's right, promo code GarageBoozing for 15% off site-wide. Go get yours now. Thank me later. Back to the show. So one thing I want to ask you, Brandon. So you've got your whole Be Better Industries, your own brand that you're working on. I know I call it motivational speaking, but it's more than that. So what made you want to take that step to help other people?
Me wanting to help people learn the things that I personally learned and used to help transform my own life. I remember when you and we would drive to the Kingston Mall. You're talking
about Cody.
Yeah, I'm pointing right at him.
Well, yeah, but some people are listening. Some people are listening. They're not watching.
Yeah, oh, very good point. So Cody and we would drive to Kingston Mall. For those listening, that's an hour and a half away.
At least.
Yeah. And
for
Cody,
their previous job as well.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
And that was during the time when I was really deep into the personal development world, really deep into listening to videos, reading books.
I was going to say, I remember the commutes there. You'd be listening to, what's his name?
Tony Robbins.
Tony Robbins.
Yep. I would say to Cody, because I felt bad, because I was like, not everyone wants to listen to this stuff. Like, I completely get it. And Cody was like, no, I'm down for that. And by the way, I never told you this. I freaking greatly respect that you let us listen to that, because I needed that stuff at that point in my life.
Well, and that's the thing too, like with anybody, like I'm a firm believer in like if it makes you happy, go for it. Like if I don't agree with it, like that's not for me to worry about.
If it makes you happy and someone else has something to say, fuck them. Do what makes you happy.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't, but
and I would listen to that, and I'd listen to this. For those who don't know Tony Robbins, he's this big dude, big teeth, just tall. He had to work on his own life. He obviously does very well for himself. He's worth $500 million. He'd be worth over $1 billion if he didn't give so much to charity and helping other people.
Oh, but see, that's cool. Dude, if you're worth $500,000 and you can give that much to charity, like, dude, you're still living a good life. Your kids are going to live a great life. Your grandkids are going to, like, live a great life. That's a shit ton of money.
I think after a certain amount of money, it's like, okay, what else can I really do for my lifestyle?
Yeah.
Well, and on top of that, what's going to make you happier? Like, are you going to have to spend $1 billion on a new home? You know, hypothetically speaking, is that really going to make you that much happier?
Well,
like,
okay, not to, like, interrupt you there, but, like, I think $1 billion home would probably make me really happy if that exists, because that's a really expensive house.
And you know what, though? At the same time, it would become your new normal. It'd
Right.
become what was normal to you. You'd come home to your normal $1 billion house, and then you would find other things. Your brain, your 10,000-year-old brain, or even older, would say, what else can I want? What else can I look for? And really, I would listen to these motivational tapes. And by the way, for anyone who's like thinking to themselves, I really need to make a change in my life, try this. Try listening to someone you really connect with. For me, it was Tony Robbins.
For me, it's Brandon Eastman. Listen to Brandon Eastman.
I appreciate that. BeBetterIndustries.com. Go check it out. And I would listen to these videos every single day. And long story short, after I was able to lose the weight, I got myself out of thousands of dollars of debt. I was able to transform the way that I think, start a business, start advancing into leadership. I said to myself, well, what can I do to help people who were in the same situation as me? And the answer was, number one, well, make videos like the ones that I watched. So I started to make videos like how to lose weight, how to earn more money, how to change negative thoughts into positive thoughts. And it started to get traction. And I started to attract businesses who wanted me to train their salespeople. I started to advance into leadership where I trained salespeople. And yes, it became a lucrative monetary position for me to be in, but it also became a position where I could help people in the same way that I was helped.
Right.
So I do it for impact, but I wouldn't do anything that wouldn't allow me to earn money. If you can't earn money, then how can you reach more people if you're not earning money?
Absolutely. And like Tony Robbins. So anyway, so you were listening to him, and of course he's making money off you listening to him. Grant Cardone is making money if you're listening to him.
Yeah.
You know, Gary Vee, I fucking love Gary Vee. He's making money when people listen to him. So like obviously there's a factor behind it, but like at the same time, if you can, I love what you're doing because you can help people and make money at the same time, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
You know? That's incredible. And kudos to you, man. Like I was looking at your Brandon Eastman like Facebook page the other day, not your personal Facebook that we're friends on, but like your actual brand Facebook page. Holy shit, you have a shit ton of likes on that thing, dude. Oh my god, I was like, whoa. Well, it's like what with like tens of thousands of people on there.
Yeah. I mean, everyone wants to live a better life, man, and you just got to find that person that you resonate with. The reality is you're not going to become successful alone. You're just not.
Sure.
I mean, you can try. Even Elon Musk has his motivations. Like when somebody told him they didn't believe he could go to Mars, he literally cried. I think it was Buzz Aldrin or one of the big astronauts. He cried because he looks up to those people. You have to have a role model. You have to have someone you look up to if you want to achieve more.
Sure.
You got to have someone to look up to. And you know, the big thing is the reason why I was able to do all these things is because I didn't just listen to Tony Robbins. I listened to him and I took action on what he said, and I did it, and I went through the pain. You won't change unless you have the pain, unless you have the girl who says, you know, she doesn't want to spend the time with you. You won't change and change your body unless you experience the pain. You won't change unless you get a letter in the mail from the IRS saying you owe them thousands of dollars. You won't change unless you don't have any groups of friends around you who you want to be around. You just don't change unless you have the pain.
Well, I think that's incredibly important too. You know, the people that you surround yourself with, you know, that's really just a collection of who you are. You know, and I feel like as I've gotten older, that's really important to me more than anything.
You are who you surround yourself with.
Right. And I just like now being 35 and like my goals are entirely different than who I was at 30 or 25. Like if I could talk to the person that I was at 25, like, oh my God, like the things I would probably say, like it's one of those things like, again, you have to have a plan. And you have to be around the right people that are not only going to motivate you, but also like encourage you to do the right thing.
You are the average of the three people you spend the most time around.
Woof. And that's all we got for part one. Like I said, folks, this conversation was so good that I had to break it up into two parts. So be looking forward to part two next week. But thank you so much to my guests this week, Brandon Eastman, Cody Hinkley. You guys were absolutely awesome, and we had one hell of a conversation, and I couldn't thank you guys enough, and you guys will definitely be back on the podcast in the future. You bet your ass. But folks, please don't forget the absolute number one way to support the brand. Buy some merch. We've got hats, we've got t-shirts, we've got hoodies, we got sweatshirts. You name it, we got it, and it's all available to you at www.garageboozing.net. And nerds, don't forget to follow the brand on all of your favorite social media accounts at Garage Boozing, as well as YouTube, if you'd rather watch than listen. And of course, don't forget to follow, like, subscribe, whatever the button is, on all of your favorite podcast platforms so you can be notified as soon as a new episode is released. We are on Spotify, we're on Amazon Music, we're on iHeartRadio, we're on Pandora, we are everywhere. All podcast platforms, you name it, we're there. Go subscribe. Thank you. Well, that's all the time we have for today. So be looking forward to the part 2 conversation with Brandon and Cody coming next Tuesday. And guys, thank you so much for your support. This whole thing would not be possible without all of you. So I thank you guys every week. I'm going to continue to do so because without you, there's no brand, there's no podcast. So thank you guys so much for all of your support. And with all that being said, I'll see you nerds next week.
Ladies, gentlemen, and nerds. Do you have what it takes to be a guest on the fastest growing alcohol chugging and nonsense talking podcast? Well, now is your chance. The Garage Boozing Podcast has new guests every week, and you could be one of them. Just simply log on to www.garageboozing.net, click the Be on the Show tab, and submit your information. It's that simple. Join the boozement or be a loser. Don't miss your chance because we're taking this to the moon.